We now go into a couple of lightning talks. We have James Preston up first from the University of Nottingham, and then followed by Ovidiu Bagdasar, I hope I said that correctly, from the University of Derby. What we'll do, we'll take questions at the end. So James, when you're ready, I'm particularly looking forward to this because apparently you're going to tell us how to all become millionaires, if I've read the abstract.
Well,
perhaps I misread it. But
if we're good at maths, maybe.
Who wants to be a millionaire style sort of revision consolidation quiz is what you're going to talk about. So whenever you're ready.
Can I just check that you can see the screen? Is it shared?
Yeah, we can.
Excellent, brilliant. Thank you. So, yeah, thanks for having me. As you said, I'm James Preston and I work at the University of Nottingham. And I've used this resource on the foundation year at University of Nottingham. I've used it fairly recently, actually, just before the exam marking season's all kicked off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how it would work, and then I'm going to kind of go through a couple more details that you should know as someone who's going to use it. I've put in the chat a link to a polling site where I'm going to ask some of you to pop an answer as if you were a student doing the quiz. Okay, so I'm just going to, there's a bit of a preamble. I'll come back to that in a second, but I'd like to show you what it looks like first of all. So question one, questions start off nice and easy, like in the show, and get progressively more difficult, like in the show. The first question is a nice easy dot product question. Can you calculate the dot product between these two vectors? And can you pop your answers into the poll that I've sent out? Regarding this part, it would help. It's not necessary, but it would certainly help if you had a second monitor, because with Mentimeter, you can see the answers coming in real time, and therefore you'll get a feel for when you think students have all submitted, so you can then move on, use your time a bit more efficiently. So let me show you what I can see. So these are the options, and there's still a few coming in. C is the overwhelming majority. So I would say we're going to go collectively for option C. Okay, and you can cut that off when you think you've had enough. So we would go for C. So I just click this blue button here, and £100. We've got it correct. Wonderful. What I've also then done is I've set up all the incorrect answers so that they are based on common mistakes. So it does take a bit of time to get this set up, but I definitely think it's worth it. For example, a lot of students do this kind of mistake, or this kind of mistake where they multiply component by component and get a vector, whereas their answer should obviously be a scalar because it's a scalar product. So C is the correct answer. And I've got a document for my use next to me on my other screen, just so that I can see which answer is the correct one, just so I can get a feel for if students are getting it right on the spot. This one that's shaded pink would be the one that I would keep if it was 50-50, if the 50-50 option had been asked for. Okay, then we'd go on to question two. I won't get you to answer question two, but I'd like to just return to Mentimeter. I'm not sure if all of you have used this before, but it's really easy to use. It's quite colourful. I really like it. It takes minutes to set up one of these problems. You can then just copy and paste this into the chat of the class that you're teaching. And once you have finished the question, you can just recycle this slide by clicking on if you kind of move your mouse around, you get some options. Click on the More option and then choose Reset Results. You can then reuse the slide again for each question. And this is good because Mentimeter only gives you 2 slides per presentation on the free version, but you can get around that for this kind of problem using that recycling idea. So then we'd go on to question 2. I don't know if you can hear them, but there are some kind of sound effects from the show that are embedded in. You may or may not want to use those, but it just adds a bit more fun to it. I think this one is B. So you click the blue circle for B. Happy days, £200. Again, I've got some answers that are based on plausible mistakes that students could make, just to make it a bit more useful as a revision exercise. Because if you did get one of these answers wrong, you can then see what you've done wrong, and you can look back at your work and think, oh yeah, silly me, I get it now. You can share this document with students at the end on whatever platform you use to share resources, just so they can see all the options and why some of them were wrong. If you get a question wrong, I'm going to just guess one and hope that it's wrong. You'll get a little game over screen. Hopefully that won't happen. It could happen. I used this in January or December with a different module, and on like question 2 or 3, which was meant to be one of the easy ones, more than half of the students were going for one of the kind of obvious mistakes. So I didn't really want to get the game over screen straight away. So it's up to you whether you want to do this or not, but I steered them like with heavy hinting that that might be incorrect, but it's up to you whether you want to do that or not. Now I'm going to return to the preamble because I'd like to just talk through that in a bit more detail. So this, it's up to you whether you want to use this or not, but I've said you can use your notes, but you shouldn't be allowed to use Wolfram or Desmos. This is more kind of based on the fact that in the future, we might return to exam hall exams where they haven't got access to the internet. Now, obviously in the show, it's meant to be one person in the hot chair and then the audience as a lifeline. But I thought that was quite difficult to implement in an online setting. You may want to do that if you're feeling bold when we return to face-to-face. But I thought it was easier and maybe more effective to have the whole student body being the person in the hot chair as a collective. And I've then replaced the ask the audience lifeline with phone a friend. Ask the presenter. So they would then ask me for a hint on how to solve the problem. If you're lucky in that you've got some PGR students who help you on your module, you might be able to recruit one as a phone a friend lifeline. So I had Celine, who was present, and we asked her for a hint. Should that lifeline be asked? Lifelines can only be used once, so maybe save them until the end, or for the harder questions, that is. A bit of preamble about how I would pick the option that I would choose to progress. I would choose all of the lifeline options as a collective. So here there are 7 students asking for a lifeline. That's not as high as B, so I would choose B. B and C, I've got the same, so I would wait for another student to answer. You'll probably find that not all students will want to use the Mentimeter, but if you kind of cajole them, then they might bite the bullet and do it. In this case, I've got 15 students wanting a lifeline, which is more than the 12 who asked for B. So I would say more students want a lifeline, so we'll go with a lifeline. And the lifeline that's the most popular is 50-50. So we would apply 50-50. You would then reset the voting, and you would start again with that new information. More or less it. I will just kind of show you what this document looks like. So I've got all of these what the question is, what the answers are, what the mistakes are, what the correct answer is, and which option to keep for 50-50. And I've just print screened that onto the PowerPoint. What else? I have made a template of this that I will share with the gang afterwards, where it's got the kind of backbone of the PowerPoint, but the questions are all blank, ready for you to fill in. And I'll also include a list of which of the blue buttons are correct for each slide as well. In terms of getting student feedback on this, I haven't bothered yet, mainly because the attendance was so poor towards the end of the year. I'm hoping that was just an endemic thing for everyone, but I might do in the future. But a few students said on Teams afterwards that they really enjoyed it, so I took that as positive. But yeah, I'll stop there because I think I've run over about 7 minutes. So thanks for listening. And any questions, please just pop them in the chat and I'll try and get around to them. Brilliant.
Thank you very much, James.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Well, pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Please don't go anywhere yet. We'll bring.
Yeah, I'll stay right here.
give people time to tap them in.